clear. The Nox event is contained. I repeat, the Nox event is contained.
What happened?
Why something this simple, isometric, 2.5D, a little bit of a 3D here and there, pretty damn old. Began like what? Early 2010-ish or so. Used to be a Java game. Just you could log in like places like eBums World and stuff and play this. And now it's a full-blown PC title on Steam. And it's just this simple, but this good. Look at the graphics, the gameplay. Like, look, let's go through here. Look at this. Look.
I had to find what
Look
I
how
needed
simple.
to survive
Okay.
and fight.
Literally.
But there were too many.
So this kind of points to us, it points to a direction. Hey, how is something like this so good, but then modern gaming is just fucking garbage? You're like, is it eye candy over, creativity and gameplay anymore? Is that really what it is? Of course, and then we got this.
Night City.
Yeah, welcome to Night City. Okay. Well, look, quick pause there real quick. This is not exactly I'm not hating on, everybody's fan favorite Cyberpunk. No, not at all. I played the living shit out of it until my eyes bled, and, I probably shit in my gaming chair and just, pissed out the window because I was too focused on the game to leave the room where my PC's at, obviously. But put it this way. No, I'm not hating on this game particularly, but I'm using it as an example because this is the one that actually pulled out all the whole ray tracing and graphics phenomenon and kind of put it in a jump start more than what it was. So I'm using this as an example, but not exactly this game, if that makes sense.
Night City, the rules are
But like, so we look at it and it's just, this is just a trailer, so it's obviously not a lot of gameplay. But like, okay, so look at it from this perspective. We're going towards this game right here is great. Okay, there's really not really many flaws as it used to have, and I can't really use it as an example, but I'm going to put it this way: games focusing on graphics like this one does, but the games that do focus on these type of graphics and showing off the capabilities of other things like ray tracing, yada yada, they've left the story behind. They've left gameplay behind for flashy eye candy. What happened? Why has that changed so much? Luckily enough, like in Cyberpunk, at least we have a good story, multiple endings and stuff. They did that well. But other games, like, why have they just been like, you know what? We're going to give you A+ graphics. Like, you're going to get the best of the best. Ray tracing, you're going to need 4090s for it, but it's going to look so good. And you're going to pay a premium of $79.99. And the DLC is not free at all. You got to pay, upwards of $30, $40 per DLC. And you get a graphics mod DLC. Huh? That's actually what it's coming to. I mean, why? Why is it coming to that? So these types of games are doing that, but where's the story though? Where's the replayability? With games like this, you get replayability, you get everything all in one package, the looks, the gameplay. But it seems to me like devs now are like, hey bro, we heard you want eye candy, but we don't want to give you a story or anything worth playing. We just want to give you an open world that sucks total donkey ass. You won't mind it though, because you'll be sucked into the graphics. Nothing else. You need nothing else in the game. But that takes me back to a whole other subject. Why is everything just not great anymore then? It's like the better the things look now, the more it sucks. It's very rare you get something that looks amazing that's just damn good. What happened? It's like, did it just get lazy with it and just decide, hey, well, the market's like, well, we're going to give them something pretty instead. Don't worry about, give them their money's worth. Just make sure it looks good. I'm not, why? So then that takes us back to stuff like this. Nintendo days, retro games. Look at it. I mean, please note some of these I've never even heard of in my life. I'm not this old, and I really wasn't into retro gaming as much, being only 30 years old, and I basically started off around Dreamcast and PlayStation days. Haven't really messed with a lot of retro stuff, but I did play them, obviously. But this is just going to be an example of how basic things used to be and how how praised they are today. People still playing these versus what we're given today. People would rather spend hundreds, thousands of dollars on these games that you can't find no more for physical copies just to play them again. Versus nowadays where people's like, hey, give me that game that was, eye candy and shit with no story, and I'm just going to go ahead and pirate it because I don't want to buy it. I don't care. I wouldn't spend $1 on it. Versus retro, where games gave you story, depth, a feeling of character, something you wanted to replay again, and it's just lively, even though it's so simple, which goes back to what I said about games like Project Zomboid. Look at that, These games, they're so simplistic, but they're so addicting. We need that again. We need just creativity, even though they're so like 2D, looking top down 2D crap, in these old Nintendo games and whatnot. The thing about them is they had a goal, a goal that could be shared with others in a collaborative manner in person. And I don't know, it just brought people together better, and it had a replayability about it that you just can't explain, Maybe it's because back then games are more family oriented for like a group of people instead of like focused on a niche group or something. I don't know which one it is. I have no clue, but it's just, what is it that makes older and just today indie games and simpler ones just more appealing? So let's dive in on Reddit. Classic versus modern. Let's see what's going on here. From a poster, deleted, no longer active, I guess. What do you like about retro games more than modern games? Their response: for me, it's simple, fun, accessibility to a lot of games. I like being able to jump in, start having fun almost immediately without waiting through tedious tutorials for the most part, which is what we do have a lot of, and it's really damn annoying. But I mean, it's kind of understandable because things have changed nowadays, so you do kind of need a tutorial to understand what you're doing first. So that part really doesn't kind of have a say-so. And I also just find art and music styles incredibly charming beyond just mere nostalgia. So that part, art and music styles, that does stand out. There was more creativity back then, and then you actually had soundtracks and stuff that would chime in like during an intense action moment in the game or some kind of suspenseful moment that would just keep you lured in. You'd be sucked into the game. Like it just, I don't know, it would change with the moment and different sceneries. We do still have that today, but it's just not, it's like I've heard that before in everything, like a cinematic scene or some kind of suspenseful moment in a game. It's like now you're just like, I've heard that before. Then you're just like, this is different, and the art style is just totally, you can see that by the banner. Go ahead, think about it yourself. So let's see what everybody else's response is here. We get from Rex Dart, same, less bullshit, no tutorial, cleaner mechanics. Less bullshit really does sum it up. Okay, nice. That's what I just said. I think, I don't know. No grind, insta fun. Haven't played Dragon Warrior, I see. Some of them were grindy, not gonna lie. Let's keep on going down, skip those guys. It used to be that if a game maker wanted additional funds from you, they had to make the game good enough that you'd recommend it to your friends and or genuinely look forward to the next release. Now they have a big third option, which is entice you, give them a direct pipeline to your credit card through the course of playing the game. This changed games very much for the worst. That's kind of how it is. You buy into the hype, you buy into the trailer, you buy into the new what's hot then, the new graphics, the new, showing off the mechanics, and then you're promised, a good game, but it just gets worse over time the more you play it, and you're like, I spent money on this? Almost $70 on this? You don't get your money's worth anymore because everything, they release DLCs now, and it feels like these DLCs should actually be part of the game instead of a DLC. It's like a way of just cutting corners. Like, here's half of a game, but we're going to give you a DLC that should have been a fundamental feature to begin with. But nah, $30. Take it. I don't know. There was no way to update buggy shit. It's cool. This guy says this. This comment is under, hold on. Okay. So he talks about a broken mess, and this guy says this comment is underrated. I've been writing published software since the 1990s, and things are now rushed, with most concerns being met with, we'll address those issues in patches. Yeah. Steam Early Access in patches. Steam Early Access is a good thing, but the thing about Steam Early Access, there's been a lot of scams and uncommitted developers in there, and it's just like, we'll address this with patches. We're still waiting like 3, 4, 5 years on some of my favorites for patches that have been promised, and the title still showing on the Steam page, early access. And it's been that way forever, and a lot of people is waiting for things. Prime example, a game called Heat. Okay, Heat is a survival game, based in the West. You get to become the president if you wanted to, if you win enough votes. You get to start a family, a camp, all kinds of different things. It was meant to have a full economy and everything in a small multiplayer world. Like I think the max was like 30 players or something like that, but people's obviously went past that 100 players, but it never lasted. I don't know why, mostly because of what this guy said, though. I guess they would address things in patches, and as soon as it became like release 1.0, they claimed the game was done and it needed no further patches, but clearly the game won't load. For some people, the game takes forever to load, it crashes, it's missing fundamental features to keep people playing. Could have been something so good. I don't know why developers give up on stuff like that when they have a really good formula. Then they move on to a new game. And they're like, well, we're not looking back on that one, but that was your most successful game. I mean, it just happens all the time. Deadlines and patches, all kinds of stuff. Just it's not the same, And back then, games are just made out of passion. Now they're just like we're test subjects. Best way to put it. We're test subjects. And then they just move on. That's pretty much it. And then, let's see, local split screen multiplayer. That doesn't exist because why? That's one thing I can be like, it was fun back in the day, but now we're in a world where it's online. How many people are actually at your house and you're just like, hey, let's play some split screen? It's not the same. It's not the same anymore. So I can understand why that one's gone, but some games are still local and split screen, mostly like games you would see people playing, like husband and wife series or something at home, like some kind of farming sim, Zelda type game or something. That I could understand that being split screen multiplayer because it makes sense. But most games today, nah. So this one just doesn't. Nah. Mario Kart, I could see that. Yeah, that's different. But let's move on. So here's the subject that I was talking about earlier. Another Reddit post from True Gaming Reddit by the user Sammy James. Okay, so they say, gameplay is more important than graphics, but how often do you people take into account how the graphics help sell the atmosphere of a game? Obviously, yeah, that's, like I said, that's now a selling point nowadays, more than it used to be ever, long time ago. So this guy says, to be honest with you, one of the first things that grabs my attention about a certain game is how it looks or how the first images give off a certain atmosphere. That's what I pay attention to. I do pay attention to like that's not going to change. That's just how modern things are represented anymore. Any type of trailer. You're going to look at the atmosphere and you're going to be like, okay, is this going to hook me in? Am I going to like this? And it's just like a movie. Is the atmosphere in the first half of the trailer, is it something that I'm going to be drawn to? Is it going to be eye catching? Is it going to keep me watching through the rest of the trailer? So obviously that's what you're going to want. You hook them in, they keep watching, and they're like, hey, maybe I like it, maybe I don't. The end. So he says, for example, I never saw a Legend of Zelda fan, but when I saw the Breath of the Wild cel shaded graphics, it gave off an atmosphere that felt relaxing, relieving, immediately captured my attention. Or, for example, I'm not a Street Fighter fan, and I've always been a Tekken fan, but I like the appeal of Street Fighter because the goofiness compared to Tekken reminds me of the old arcade days. And it's just like, I don't know. Back then, it's just they focused more on, they did have graphics to take into accountability, but it was like, they wanted to make sure it was an addicting formula of gameplay rather than something just that you bought because it looked good. They wanted something that you bought because you would have fun. That's the best way to put it, And it's just, let's see what other people's opinions are here. Your examples are less graphics and more art style. When people say gameplay graphics, they usually mean graphical fidelity, the power it takes to render. Plenty of beautiful games are easy on the GPU. I would argue that art style is as important as gameplay, though. Art style is as important, but then again, it's not everything. I mean, you can have art, but if you don't have, content, interactivity, and all kinds of, longevity and things to do and keep you busy, what point is that art? There could be art lying away somewhere in a level somewhere, deep in the level and progression, and like, if the gameplay is not there, I'm not gonna stay hooked long enough to remain in that game to see that later art that's in the game. You see what I mean? So my point's been made. If it's just, it could just be me turning into an old, ancient, dusty ass fart. Or it could be that, you know, things are kind of just slowing down and getting stale. I don't know. Anyway, what's your opinion?